Hit it. Can you? Is it possible to build a community garden without hefty grants, corporate sponsorship, or wealthy patrons? The answer is yes, if you get creative, work hard, and let local people know what you're doing. In the small town of Riverbend, a dozen women with a vision met in December and launched their dream project. Wakefield Organic Garden started with nothing and no money, and by the end of the summer, we harvested over 540 pounds of organic produce for ourselves and our benefactors. The town provided land under Parks and Recreation. Our Director of Public Works installed a water connection, applied a 100 by 100 foot space, and spread compost. Money's always an issue. In the spring, a small group of residents hosted a garage sale for us. We requested money, we requested donated items, and the attendance was excellent. We received tools, equipment, and a lot of support and money. Town Council approved our request for a small one-time grant with the understanding that we would become self-supporting. We've learned how to stretch the money, and so far we have 67% of what we received. I'm ahead of myself here, I'm sorry. Okay. The first expense was a fence to keep deer out of the garden. We used economical 8-foot netting, some donated by a woman who was cleaning out the garden shed. When we purchased 4x4, 10-foot high fence posts from a local building supply company, they sold them to us at a substantial discount, and you can see the different type of fencing. Each member of the founding committee contributed a small amount of money or in-kind supplies in the same amount. The women were all passionate about the project and contributed much more than money. They gave hours and hours of labor and love, and you can see that from the photos. In place of purchasing composters, we put the word out that we were gardening organically and we needed help. Several of our town residents donated their composters. We also built one composter out of treated wood, and you can see the different types of composters here. And we had one composter specialist help us out from our group. Between May and October 30th, over 1,525 hours of labor have gone into the garden. Since our inception, more than 660 hours of administrative work help document everything we've done. Research, meetings, daily garden journals, record of expenses, planting, work hours, and our harvests. We didn't have to purchase seeds and starts because they were donated by our local community gardening network and master gardeners. We received different types of tomato plants, peppers, eggplant, and other plants. They gave us whole pole beans, bush beans, and winter squash seeds. We purchased some of our own herbs and flowers and plants as well. Donations from local residents provided us with tools, equipment, great advice, and direction. People who were downsizing gave us their garden tools, storage bins, buckets, stakes, pavers, tomato cages, fencing, bird feeders, wheelbarrows, watering cans, hoses, and whatever else they had. When we needed plastic sheeting for a solarizing project, we went to a local mattress store to get plastic that mattresses were wrapped in. A local furniture maker let us recycle his scrap wood for hose guards and tomato stakes, and one resident gave us over 100 antique tobacco curing sticks. We discovered that our volunteers who managed smaller specialty gardens within the main garden were generous with their contributions, whether it was plant divisions from their own home gardens, saved seeds, or plants purchased out of pocket. And you can see our straw bale garden that we did. When we wanted to build a retaining wall around our circular herb bed, we again put a request on our town's listserv. We received over 500 bricks, which was more than enough to create all the walls and pathways and a small patio, with some left over for other projects. We did not want to spend the summer weeding, so daily, for weeks, we culled cardboard boxes offered by a nearby store. We laid them out in our 3-foot wide paths and covered them with wood chips that were donated by a local tree cutting service. And voila, we had no weeds and we had beautiful pathways. We didn't want any weeds in our carefully hand-built raised beds either. When we asked our community for newspapers, we were inundated. We wet newspapers, laid them around the young plants in the seeded rows, and covered them with grass clippings or compost from our landfill. Consequently, we did very little weeding all summer. One River Bend benefactor saw the value of mowing the large field that surrounds our fenced garden and donated a used riding mower. That allows us to harvest all the grass clippings we need. And we also cut wild bamboo to anchor the deer fence, and you can see the anchor on one of those slides there, how we anchored it. One of our volunteers knew someone who had a cousin who had a turkey farm. The turkey farmer was happy to have us haul off all the aged turkey manure we wanted. When it became apparent the plants needed more nutrients, we shopped around and found a farm supplier to buy cottonseed meal and phosphate at good prices. And he's local to here. The town-supplied hydrant came with the understanding that we would pay for our own water. We hand-watered the garden with donated hoses, but as summer rains took over, that chore and expense became unnecessary. It was a lucky break for the new garden's budget. We saved some money there. All the summer crops have now been removed, and we've completed the transition to our winter garden. We use row covers to protect our young plants. We began to install drip irrigation lines in all the beds, and we're building frames for the row covers that protect the young plants. You can see here the row covers prior to our building the frames. We celebrated the end of a successful first season with an open garden event attended by over 100 people. A community garden is a perfect place to practice creative ingenuity, old-fashioned thrift, and ecological recycling common to gardeners the world over. We're proud of our garden and proud that we are growing crops for residents from a garden built on a shoestring budget.